Hare Krishna. Krishna, thank you, Pawan Prabhuji. Hari Bol for leading the chanting today throughout from the beginning till the end. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll continue with our Mangalacharan prayers and Prabhupada Leela reading. We share the screen. And we'll start with Mangalacharan first. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyat Deshitharine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Okay. So let me share this in the chat. So we'll recite the beautiful prayer now that Lord Krishna has appeared. So this is a prayer glorifying the Bala Mukunda form of the Lord by Srila Bilu Mangal Thakur. It's called Bal Mukunda Ashtakam. So last week we sang Chorashtakam. This week we'll continue with this beautiful prayer by the same Acharya Bilu Mangal Thakur. It's in the same meter. करारविन्देन पदारविन्दं मुखारविन्दे विनिवेशयन्तं वटस्य पत्रस्य पुटेशयानं बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि संहृत्य लोकान् वटपत्रमध्ये शयनमद्यन्तविहीन रूपं सर्वेश्वरं सर्वहितावतारं बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि इन्दीवरश्यामलकोमलाङ्गम् इन्द्रादिदेवार्चितपादपद्मं सन्तानकल्पद्रुममाश्रितानां बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि लम्बालकं लम्बितहार यस्तिं शृङ्गारलीलाङ्कितदन्तपङ्क्तिं बिम्बाधरं चारुविशालनेत्रं बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि शिक्ये निधायापि पयोदधीनि बहिर्गताय व्रजनायिकायां भुक्त्वा यथेष्टं कपटेन क्षुब्धं बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि कालीजलस्थितकालियस्य फणाग्ररङ्गेन टनप्रियन्तं तत्पृच्छहस्तं शरदीन्दुवाक्त्रं बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि उलूखले बद्धमुदारशौर्यम् उत्तुङ्ग युग्मार्जुनभङ्गलीलाम् उत्फुल्लपद्मायतचारुनेत्रं बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि आलोक्यमातुं मुखमादरेण तन्यं पिबन्तं सरसीरुहाक्षं सच्चिन्मयं देवमनन्तरूपं बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Balam Kundam Stotram ki jai, Shri Vilamangal Thakur ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, anybody would like to read the translation of this prayer?
In read Prabhuji.
Yes, Sushita Mataji, please go ahead.
Translation. I meditate on that infant Mukunda Krishna who's sleeping on the leaf of a banyan tree, and with the lotus-like foot placed in his lotus-like mouth with his lotus-like hand. I meditate on that infant Mukunda who's sleeping holding all the worlds together on the leaf of a banyan tree in such form, who has no beginning or no end. He is the incarnation of God for the welfare of all mankind and the Lord of all. I meditate on Balamukunda in my heart, who has a delicate body like a blue lotus and whose foot is worshipped by all gods and Indra, etc. He is the wish-fulfilling tree for those who take refuge in him. I meditate on that Balamukunda in my heart, who has hanging curls and hanging necklaces, a beautiful row of teeth which are shown playfully. His lower lip is as red as a bimbo fruit and has beautiful white eyes. I meditate on that Balamukunda in my heart, who pretended as if he was sleeping, having eaten the yogurt to his contentment from the hanging pots of the gopis when they had gone out. I meditate on Balamukunda, whose beautiful face resembles the autumnal moon and is dancing happily on the hood of the serpent Kalia, holding its tail with his hand in the Kalanda pond. I meditate on Balamukunda with beautiful eyes, like the petals of a full-bloomed lotus, and who, with great valor, broke the pair of tall Yamala trees, even though he was tied to a mortar, a large heavy stone bowl for pounding grain. I meditate on Balamukunda, God filled with Sat and Chit, that is, infinite consciousness of infinite divine form, the lotus-eyed one who cast his looks at his mother's face with affection while drinking milk from his breast. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Yes. So this prayer helps us meditate on the Bal Mukunda, the child form of the Lord who has just appeared now. And wonderful. Thank you. So, okay. So that will continue with our reading of Srila Prabhupada Leela reading from chapter 33. So we transitioned last week. We saw Prabhupada is now traveling across the country in India. He's lecturing, and his disciples are holding kirtans in all the different pandals in Bombay. Now he's in Indore, traveling for the Gita Mahotsav. So last week we saw Prabhupada celebrated Janmashtami in Japan. Then he came to India, and then by the end of the week he was celebrating the Gita Mahotsav, Gita Jayanti Mahotsav in different parts of the country and Indore, and performing kirtans and holding classes. Of course, different sadhus from all over the country are also assembling in these pandals, and Prabhupada and his disciples are little disturbed by all the Mayavadi philosophies being preached, or people coming with their own versions of Bhagavad Gita, concocting the message, and that was disturbing Prabhupada a lot. But Prabhupada was continuing to boldly preach the true message of Bhagavad Gita as it is, and he is inspiring other wealthy business people and Indians in general to take up to the original Krishna consciousness, which is our original eternal religion. So let's continue. Prabhupada wrapped up last week as saying that to his devotees that his books are like gold, and it doesn't matter what we say about them, but one who knows the value, he will purchase. So we'll continue from here. Because visitors often ask Prabhupada and his disciples what they thought of various popular spiritual teachers, Prabhupada gave his disciples hints on answering such questions. If the teacher was not a bona fide follower of the Vedic scripture, Prabhupada said the devotee should reply, Swami who? by thus indicating that he had not heard of the particular teacher, he would minimize the teacher's importance. Then the devotee should ask, "What is this Swami's philosophy?" When the person explained, the devotee could defeat the particular philosophy without attacking the person. India had many Mayavadi gurus, Prabhupada explained, and they often traveled in groups from one convention to another. Although each had his own particular style, primarily they were interested in chapatis. And for every chapati, he said, there are many Mayavadis. So there is competition. One of Prabhupada's frequent visitors was Vairagi Baba, an educated man who had visited America and who spoke fluent English. He regularly joined in the kirtan with the devotees, chanting and dancing with them on stage. And when he visited Prabhupada in his room, he behaved with Prabhupada in a familiar way. Too familiar, Prabhupada's disciples thought. But Prabhupada tolerated him. One day, some devotees met Vairagi Baba at a lunch engagement and they noticed he was drinking tea. Almost naively and yet with an air of challenge, one of the devotees asked why he was drinking tea. "Oh, I am an Avadhuta," Vairagi Baba replied. The devotees who had never heard this word before reported the incident to Prabhupada. Avadhuta, Prabhupada explained, means one who is beyond the regulative principles. Generally, this refers to Nityananda Prabhu. Prabhupada disapproved of Vairagi Baba's tea drinking and especially of his calling himself an Avadhuta, an incarnation of Lord Krishna who descended along with Lord Chaitanya. This is explanation about Nityananda Prabhu here. That's not an asterisk. Who is an incarnation of Lord Krishna who descended along with Lord Chaitanya to spread the chanting of Hare Krishna and deliver the fallen souls of this age. His supremely independent activities, without regard of rules and regulations that apply to human beings, made him famous as an Avadhuta. His unusual pastimes are relished by devotees and are not to be imitated. A small group of devotees were sitting with Prabhupada in his room one afternoon. Srimati Radharani's excellence was her cooking, Prabhupada said. She could also sing and dance, but her great service was her cooking for Krishna. Mother Yashoda would ask her personally to come and cook for Krishna and the cowherd boys. So all in a line, she would feed them prasadam. An Indian lady came to the door, bringing an offering of chidua, fried cashews, potatoes, and raisins with spices. Srila Prabhupada took some, then distributed the rest to the other devotees. "Do you like this?" he asked, turning to Yamuna. "Oh, it is very, very tasty," she replied. "Yes," he said, "you should learn to prepare this. I like it very much. My Guru Maharaj was also fond of potato chivda, and he would sometimes request it late in the afternoon. He was very fond of it." Srila Prabhupada, a devotee asked, "May we publish pictures of you without tilak?" "Yes," he replied. "My Guru Maharaj has been recorded without tilak. You have seen that picture where he is looking up from his books at his working table?" "Yes," the devotee replied. "I have seen that picture. I have seen you look in that very same way, with the very same expression as in the picture of your Guru Maharaj." "You have only seen the glitter," Prabhupada corrected. "He is the gold. I am only iron. Iron can never be gold. But you have seen the glitter of real gold." One afternoon, a renowned astrologer visited Prabhupada and offered to read his palm. "No," Prabhupada replied, "I am finished with that. But you may read my disciples' palms." The astrologer read the palms of several devotees present, made his predictions, and then left. The devotees turned to Prabhupada, wondering what to make of it. "As soon as you clap your hands in front of the deities during Arati," Prabhupada said, smiling, "all the lines of your palm are changed." Srila Prabhupada told his disciples a story about when he had lived in Vrindavan. A Bengali widow walked to the Yamuna river to take her bath every morning. And every morning, without fail, she would return with a pot of water for the Radha Damodar pujaris to use in the bathing of the deities. Prabhupada said he would sometimes open the gate for the woman since he also rose very early and she would enter and wake the pujari. Although the Vrindavan nights are cold in the winter, Prabhupada said the woman never once failed to come with the water. For this activity, she will return back to Godhead. One who cannot rise early in the morning is not very serious about spiritual life. One must rise before the Brahma Murta hour. That is very auspicious, and one will take the trouble to do so if he is serious about spiritual life. One day, Prabhupada was sitting outside near his bungalow, chanting on his beads, when an unknown man approached, calling out the names of Krishna. Suddenly, the man fell to the ground, rolling and crying, appearing to be in great ecstasy. Prabhupada remained seated and observed the exhibition but made no response. The man continued his crying and rolling and chanting. Prabhupada now ignored him completely. After several minutes, the man got up and walked away. obviously disappointed. Early one morning, as Prabhupada sat in his room with his disciples, a gentleman entered and tearfully announced that his mother was dying. The devotees, watching for Prabhupada's reaction, saw him remain grave. He didn't try to reassure the man or preach to him, but made only a very mild comment. Prabhupada was unpredictable. He was always Krishna conscious, and he always acted in accord with Guru and Shastra. But exactly how he would act in a given situation was unpredictable. Whatever he did, however, was Krishna conscious and correct, and he was always instructing them by his example. On Prabhupada's last morning in Indore, he continued the story of Ajamila. He explained that because Ajamil had uttered the holy name, he had immediately obtained salvation, even though he had been so sinful. So Ajamil, at the time of his death, just remembered his youngest son, whose name was Narayana. The very name of Narayana has got the full potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana. That is the secret of this Nam Sankirtan movement. By chanting the holy name of Narayana, you immediately contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nam, the Lord's name, is not material, it is spiritual. Krishna and Krishna's name, there is no difference. In a very appealing voice, Ajamil began to ask his son Narayana, "Please come here, I'm dying." He was very afraid of the Yamadutas. Krishna sent the Vishnudutas to give Ajamil shelter. The Vishnudutas looked just like Lord Narayan, with four hands. With a grave voice, they said to the Yamadutas, "What are you doing? Stop. You cannot take this man to Yamaraj." Prabhupada ended his lecture and his stay in Indore, having accepted an invitation to travel to Surat in the state of Gujarat and hold Krishna conscious programs. He and his disciples would be leaving shortly. Devotees from Bombay would also join them. Prabhupada had come to Indore for the Gita Jayanti Mahotsav, but actually the Mahotsav was but a small part of his preaching in Indore. He had met hundreds of people, made life members and friends. He had touched their lives. His presence in Indore would leave a lasting impression. Baba Balamukund. I have seen many sadhus and great saints in this Gita Bhavan. I saw Srila Prabhupada also in the same place. I was very much impressed by Srila Prabhupada and his preaching. It was because Prabhupada had revealed the reality about bhakti, because he was a pure bhakta, that he could change the people of the West and give them another dress. He could give them another diet. He could entirely change their culture and give them true bhakti. And this was the greatest thing Prabhupada has done. Let the world say as it likes, but he has done a marvelous thing regarding Lord Krishna's bhakti. What Swami Vivekananda, Swami Ram Tirtha, and others could not do, Srila Prabhupada has done. It is a marvelous thing. Surat, December 17, 1970. It was like a dream come true. Thousands lined the streets for many blocks, while the devotees playing kartals and midangas and chanting Hare Krishna made their way along. Spectators stood on rooftops or clustered at windows and doorways, while others joined the procession. The police had stopped traffic at the intersections, allowing only the Kirtana procession to pass. The earthen road, freshly swept and sprinkled with water, had been decorated with rice flower designs of auspicious Vedic symbols. Green, freshly cut banana trees adorned either side of the way. Overhead, women's saris strung like bunting across the narrow roadway formed a brightly colored canopy over the Kirtan party. Mr. Bhagubai Jariwala, Prabhupada's host in Surat, had advertised the daily parade routes in the local newspapers, and now, day after day, the devotees were holding a Kirtan procession through various sections of the city. While more than 20 of Prabhupada's disciples led the daily procession, thousands of Indians chanted, cheered, and clamored to see, and women threw flower petals from the rooftops. Often the procession would have to stop as families came forward to garland the devotees. Sometimes the devotees would receive so many garlands that their blissful faces would be scarcely visible, and they would distribute the garlands to the people in the crowd. Never before had the devotees met with such a reception. It is a city of devotees, Prabhupada said. He compared the people of Surat to dry grass catching fire. By nature, they were Krishna conscious. But the arrival of Srila Prabhupada and his Sankirtan party had been like a torch, setting the city spiritually ablaze. The entire population of Surat seemed to turn out every morning as tens of thousands flocked at 7 a.m. to the designated neighborhood. Men, women, laborers, merchants, professionals, the young, the old, and all the children, everyone seemed to be taking part. Cramming the streets and buildings, they would wait for the Kirtan party, and when the devotees arrived, everyone became joyous. Prabhupada attended only a couple of the morning processions, preferring to stay in his quarters at Mr. Jariwala's home. Each morning, Prabhupada would come out onto a second floor balcony just as the devotees were leaving. Although the mornings were cold and many of the devotees sick, seeing Prabhupada on the balcony offering them his blessings eased their troubles. Prabhupada would wave and the devotees would set off down the street chanting. The devotees had no special paraphernalia other than mridangas and kartals. No flags, no marching band, no ratha cart, just an enthusiastic kirtan party. And there was no official pandal, no sadhu samaj, no Vedanta Sammelan, no Gita Jayanti Mahotsav, just an entire city of Krishna Bhaktas waiting eagerly for the American Hare Krishna chanters. To be worshipped for chanting Hare Krishna was just the opposite of what the devotees had experienced in the West. In Hamburg, Chicago, New York, London, Los Angeles, the devotees had been insulted, threatened with arrests, assaulted, and ignored. Of course, sometimes they had been tolerated and even appreciated, but never honored. The daily Sankirtan outing was exhausting since the route was long and the stops frequent. Many of the devotees had sore throats from singing, and the usual digestive upsets persisted. But the devotees took everything as the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, who was allowing them to engage a whole city in his Sankirtana movement. 20 devotees from the West had just arrived in Surat, as had an American photographer, John Greaser, on assignment for Asia magazine. John went out every day to shoot the Kirtan processions, and as he did, he felt himself becoming caught up in something much greater than a mere photo assignment. The people of Surat, who considered themselves Krishna Bhaktas at heart, saw Prabhupada as a great saint, and they saw his disciples, in whom they found the true Vaishnava qualities, as saints also. The devotees' dress, behavior, and the way of life showed pure bhakti yoga, and their kirtana was genuine worship of the holy name. By honoring the Lord's devotees, the people of Surat knew they were honoring Lord Krishna himself. Devotion to Krishna was the heart of their own culture, yet they had never expressed it to such a degree as now. After several days of Kirtan processions, the mayor of Surat, Mr. Vaikunta Shastri, closed all schools and proclaimed a holiday throughout the city. Everyone was now free to celebrate the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and chant Hare Krishna. Signs throughout the city read in Gujarati, "Welcome to the American and European devotees of Krishna, and welcome to the members of the Hare Krishna movement." The devotees felt tired and blissful as they returned to Mr. Jariwala's home, and Prabhupada was waiting for them. As soon as they saw him, they all bowed down. Chidananda. Prabhupada was at the foot of the stairs, greeting us. We were in complete bliss, with flower garlands all over us, big smiles on our faces. We were very happy that we had been so well received. It was as if Prabhupada was standing there saying, "Just see how wonderful this Krishna consciousness is. Just see how happy you are." He was standing there smiling. He was so happy that we were happy. The devotees were not alone, however, as they returned to Mr. Jariwala's home. For hundreds of Indians thronged behind them, eager to see Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, his disciples, and a clamoring crowd of Surat devotees squeezed tightly into Prabhupada's room. The guests, those who got in, inquired about ISKCON and its activities, while those outside pushed to get inside. The crowd around the house grew so great that traffic couldn't pass. While Prabhupada continued to answer questions inside, the crowd outside grew larger and more restless. By their good fortune, they had realized Prabhupada's greatness, and they wanted to be with him. As their desire became stronger, their eagerness more intense, Prabhupada got up from his seat and walked out to the balcony. The crowd roared, "Hare Krishna," their arms upraised. When Prabhupada returned inside, the crowd remained unsatisfied, and he asked some of his disciples to try and pacify them. Several devotees went out to the people, answering their questions and telling them Prabhupada would come out to see them again. Bhagubai Jariwala had come in touch with Prabhupada's movement several years before in San Francisco, when he had donated a silver murti of Krishna to the San Francisco temple. Now the Jariwala family, to accommodate their guests, had moved into modest quarters on the roof of their home and offered the rest of the house to Prabhupada and his disciples. Hospitable hosts, they made the devotees feel welcome to stay forever. At lunch and again in the evening, Prabhupada would take prasadam with the devotees and guests. The devotees sitting in rows on the floor and Prabhupada sitting at the head, in a chair at a table. Mr. Jariwala and his family would serve everyone. Often, respectable citizens would also attend the lunches. Mr. Chandra Desai, the Chief Minister of Gujarat, Mr. Vaikunta Shastri, the Surat's mayor, the State Education Minister, and others attended. The prasadam was the finest Gujarati cooking, and when a dish was particularly to Prabhupada's liking, he would ask one of his women disciples to learn from Mrs. Jariwala how to cook it. Honoring prasadam twice a day with Prabhupada was another intimacy the devotees shared with their spiritual master in India. Had they been with him in any other part of the world, such intimacy would probably have been impossible. Beginning at 4:30 a.m., Prabhupada would hold Kirtan and Aarti before Radha and Krishna and lecture from Srimad Bhagavatam. His room would be filled with guests, including the members of the Jariwala family. Although at outside engagements, Prabhupada usually spoke Hindi, in these morning meetings, he always spoke English for his disciples. He continued lecturing on Ajamal, focusing on Ajamal's degradation due to bad association, and on his deliverance by chanting of the holy name. To Srila Prabhupada's disciples, who were all aspiring to chant Hare Krishna purely and go back to Godhead, these topics were urgently relevant. He was speaking of them. Anyone who utters the name of Krishna is immediately freed from all sinful activities. That is the power of Krishna's name. The difficulty is that after being freed, we again commit mistakes. Krishna's name has got the power. As soon as you utter the name, you immediately become freed from all contaminations. But if one thinks, I am chanting Hare Krishna, so even if I commit sinful activities, it will be counteracted by my chanting. That is the greatest offense. Just like sometimes in Christian churches, they go on Sundays and confess, and they are supposed to be excused from sinful reaction. But again, after coming back from the church, they commit the same sin with the expectation that next week when I go to the church, I shall confess and it will be counteracted. This kind of understanding is prohibited. If you accept spiritual life and at the same time go on committing sinful activities, then you will never be able to progress. Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll pause here. Yes, so wonderful today. Prabhupada is talking about Surat, that is a city of devotees. Prabhupada has mentioned that many times, because Gujaratis are generally at heart very, very sincere, very pure, and very nicely devoted, even though they have this wealth by the mercy of Lakshmi Devi. They never lose their single pointed focus on devotional life. And by Prabhupada's mercy, so many of such Gujaratis came into contact with Krishna consciousness, not just in India, but even in other parts of the world, like in Africa especially. There are a lot of cities in Kenya, South Africa, other cities in African continent, where a lot of Gujaratis have contributed so much over the past 5-6 decades that Prabhupada to the movement. And we see like how they served him so nicely, even though the whole house belonged to them. They're so wealthy, they went upstairs to the roof and they gave the whole rest of the floor, rest of the building to Prabhupada and the disciples. And lovingly, the wife of Mr. Jariwala was cooking and offering prasadam to the Prabhupada and his devotees. So that's the mood of humility. We see, no matter how much of, it's not the arrogancy or the pride of the wealth, but it is the humility and surrender to a pure devotee of the Lord. So that is the quality of a pure Vaishnava. And we read Balamukunda Ashtakam, and we saw that Baba Balamukunda, he was also praising. So it's like almost like Balamukunda has come in the form of Baba Balamukunda and praising his pure devotees. Yes. Many other wonderful things. But anything else anybody else would like to share from today's reading? Please, anybody else? Any other thoughts? Anything you liked? Prabhupada also emphasized again the importance of the name, right? That holy name has so much of power and potency that it can deliver us. Actually, last week also when we were reading, we remember that other businessman, Mr. Agarwal, who was hosting Prabhupada in Bombay. He had asked Prabhupada, what will happen to your disciples after you're gone? They will probably fall away. Prabhupada says, no, as long as they're continuing to chant the holy names with sincerity and the prescribed rounds, then they will always be blessed and they will realize the true purpose of life and go back home, back to Godhead. So similarly, he's emphasizing the same thing again today, and we see how his disciples wonderfully are taking the movement, taking his instructions, going out in the streets and gloriously chanting and attracting so many devotees and thousands across the whole city. So that is the power of the holy name. But at the same time, Prabhupada is again cautioning against committing aparads, Vaishnava aparads, the 10 offenses to the holy names. The very first offense is blaspheming devotees who have given up their lives to propagate the holy names. So if you blaspheme a devotee, you're committing very serious offense. And yeah, we see such people may fall down. And yeah, some people may, when they fall down, again, we say, like today we saw this couple of examples. Those people came, one person came and he was rolling in front of Prabhupada and he was crying and chanting, right? You never know. Like they were saying, Prabhupada was very unpredictable how he responded. But many of them may have committed such aparads in their previous lives for which they were repenting now, right? We never know. Krishna's karmas and leelas are unfathomable. We cannot conceive. But Prabhupada, again, by his power, just by his darshan, like I say, darshan matra, pavitra kare eto marguna, Vaishnava's qualities, just by his darshan, one can become purified. So that is the potency. And also we saw today actually one other nice person, John Greaser, who came today. He is an American photographer, came on an assignment, and that Prabhuji is, I'm forgetting Prabhuji's initiated name, but Prabhuji is the one who directed the movie Hare Krishna Movement, Krishna Prabhupada, the man, the mission, and the movement. So the Prabhupada movie that came in 2017, 2018 timeframe. So yeah, we met him at the Sadhu Sangha as well this year, but both him and his wife, Mataji, they have done a wonderful service by, so they, again, using everything, all the talents and skills that we have, that's a great example. Like he was a photographer sent on a mission, but his life got transformed and he was shooting all these Kirtan processions in the city. And eventually he became so inspired and dedicated to Srila Prabhupada. He took initiation and then still continued to use his skills and talent in filmmaking and journalism. And he made such a wonderful movie which did such a great service to expand the glories of Srila Prabhupada all around the world. And it will continue to do so for many, many more centuries to come, because now it is there in the form of a movie that future generations can understand the glory of what Srila Prabhupada did all over the world through that wonderful movie. So yeah, so we should also take inspiration like that, and whatever skills, talents we have as the blessing of the Lord, and we should try to use those in the service of the Lord and his pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada. Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you once again for your kind association. If there are no other comments, then we'll end here for today. वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंतकोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय। जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्णा।
हरे
हरे
कृष्णा
कृष्णा
प्रभु जी,
प्रभु
थैंक
जी,
यू,
दंडवत
दंडवत
प्रणाम।
प्रणाम।